Hey everyone, my name is Shri. Anyway, in Create with Code, we're actually dealing with a new challenge called Challenge 2 Play Fetch. So with this, there's actually a couple problems. Generally, I would install from the Unity store whenever I'm dealing with these assets. However, that's not the case. I believe it's probably because it's probably in its first release on the Unity store, but we're actually going to have to deal with the raw files given here, which is not too bad of a supplement. It's just there's a couple of problems whenever I try to, set gravity or set whatever resource I do have. But that's not too bad. Because we already have the files that we're dealing with as well as the actual prefabs and whatever materials that we do need here, which is perfect for us. Alright, so let's just go ahead. So the first thing that we need to do is actually launch up Unity and set our new, resource, our new project. We're going to call this Challenge 2. Of course, this could be named to whatever challenge that we do want and need. Let's go ahead and create. Alright, so our Unity launched. Perfect. So to give, I guess, a bit of a preface onto how to actually use the Unity Asset Store, we would go to Window and click on Asset Store. Of course, this would actually lead us over back to the URL link that we had before in our browser, and it would just come back to here. Of course, you had to quote-unquote purchase this. I quote-unquote purchased the Create with Code. Of course, it was actually free, though. But that's exactly how the Unity Asset Store would work. It would pop up with another window, so let's go ahead and give this an example go. And pop up with a window of how this would look. If I click on Import and say Installation and Upgrade, we're actually going to be able to see what files we could select and whatever we need. Alright, there we go. However, as you see at the bottom, it's already giving us a whole bunch of errors just by clicking on import, which is a huge problem for us. So I'm going to actually have to re-image, or I guess restart this entire Unity process, and I guess I'll come back to you guys when I finish doing that. Perfect. Now that we're back, let's actually go ahead and figure out how to, do this entire workspace. So the way that we actually import assets raw or custom packages is by going to the Assets tab, scrolling down over to the Import package, and clicking on Custom Package. I, of course, already have the starter file selected, but you can just navigate to whatever directory that you do have it in and click on Challenge 2 Unity Package. This would give us a whole bunch of materials and access to scripts that we do need and have provided, which is perfect for us. So I'm going to click on All just in case and click on Import. This would, of course, take a second and reload and give us everything that we do need. It should be relatively quick as it's a pretty small package. And now we have access to our actual workspace, which is perfect. Alright, so we seem to be dealing with a farmer, as well as we have a spawner manager and a player manager. Okay, that's a bit interesting. If we go and click on the spawn manager, we also seem to be dealing with a couple of all free prefabs. Alright, that's probably one of our issues that we're dealing with first, but we should probably go check what we need to do in order, just in case. And we also seem to be dealing with Roto Farmer. Let's just go to actually run this package and see how this looks to begin with. Alright, this is not the most conventional view that I want to see, which really does suck. Alright, so maybe we could actually pull this back, or this camera back a bit, and see if we could actually figure this out. Oh, whoops, I was not highlighting. That's what I need. There we go. So let's actually check this out a bit. So it seems to be there's dogs that are spawning in mid-air, which is something I had noticed before, and it seems to be a clone. So I guess it's like some sort of repeated process, which is absolutely concerning, because dogs don't fly, and nor should they be spawned in mid-air, which is, I guess, a bigger problem. So I guess let's just go ahead and read what this package is doing, now that we figured out that there's already a couple of problems that are existing. So perfect. Whenever we get to our Unity store, or I guess our Unity Create with Code task, we can actually mark off step 1 and 2 as that's just saying, hey, did you import the package? And did you actually can you even do this actual package itself? And which I could say confidently that, yeah, I'm pretty confident that I could actually do this entire challenge. It says to delete if you don't know how to do it, which is really depressing. Well, anyway, if we go ahead and click on number 3, or if we go to see number 3, it says dogs are spawning at the top of the screen. Hey, didn't we notice that before? And it says make the ball spawn at the top of the screen. Alright, I got you. So, well, anyway, let's go back to the spawner manager and see what we have here. So we seem to be having element 0, 1, and 2 as dogs. let's go ahead through our resource files and see if we have anything that's a bit different to that. Of course, we want to navigate to our prefab file, as those are our actual objects that we could put in game. Alright, so we have the dog, we have the ball, as well as, or I guess we have 3 different types of balls, as well as 1 dog. Okay, so let's actually navigate and put this ball onto our element 0, ball 2 onto element 1, and ball 3 onto element 2. Of course, the reason why it starts with the element 0 is actually just a bit of ruling with coding, and that's mainly due to arrays, or how arrays work. All arrays start with index of 0 and move on from there, even though technically in human terms we count from 1 to onward, 1 to infinity. This one starts from 0 to infinity. Which is, let's go ahead and check out our project now. There we go. We seem to be spawning actual balls, and they also seem to be having a gravity rigid body object. Perfect for us. If we go check this out, we should be able to see that rigid body with gravity required, and as well as different types of scripts associated with it. That's a bit interesting, because can we even, and every single time we press the space bar as well, we are spawning a ball, which is of course also not normal. But at least we got one issue that's actually apprehended and pretty fine. Let's just go ahead and move on to the next one. Let's go ahead, tick mark that, and let's go to the next challenge. It says the player is spawning green balls instead of dogs. Ooh, wouldn't this just be the straight up the issue that we had before? This should be a really easy fix. Let's go over to player, and it says player controller, dog prefab is of course ball. No, let's do the second method to actually import a prefab, and that's just as simple as clicking on the right button here and clicking on dog. There we go. So if I go ahead, press play again, I should be able to spawn a dog, and it seems like I could also spam it. But hey, if we take a look at these balls, they're actually disappearing whenever they get to the radius of this dog. Of course, I do want a bit more of a tighter radius, to be honest, but I guess whatever works is gonna work, you know, just in terms of like making this game actually work, which is perfect for us. So I really am kind of surprised that I'm actually basically predicting what the next task should be, which is really apparent, which is really nice. I guess this is showing that I'm on the right way, or like the right path, but it says the balls are destroyed anywhere near the dog, and it should be only in direct contact with the dog. Alright, let's go ahead and actually fix this problem. Alright, so now that we figured out that we need to actually put the dog in whatever, I guess, we need to actually decrease the dog's box collider, which we learned in our unit 2, what box colliders are. Let's go ahead and put this down. So the easy way to actually figure out what a box, or how big the box collider is by double clicking the dog. Alright, we're going to see this in a huge window, and this basically is just a preview of what the dog's box collider actually looks like. As we see, it's a really large box collider, more large than it actually has to be. It's like this whole radius, practically like the size of like 10 dogs, I would say. But we can actually make this a lot more simpler. So if we go over to the box collider option, we can set the size right here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this kind of small. Let's go ahead and set this to 0. Or let's actually do 0.3. Just give it a bit of depth to it. Probably set this to 0.3 as well, maybe. Let's go check how this looks. Oop, not 0. Like a 0.3 maybe. We could just do like a square box collider. 0.3 as well for here. Alright. Oop. Let's go back to here, dog. And let's see how this looks. Alright, it seems to be going negative, which is a bit of an issue. Let's try increasing that to 0.5, maybe? And 0.3, and we can also increase it to 0.5. No, we can increase it, we just decrease it to 0.4 maybe. There we go, perfect. Ooh, my own dog went off in the background. Perfect. So I guess this will be our entire dog. Let's see how this actually looks whenever we do run this instance. So we could actually navigate back to the window by clicking on the left arrow that was next to dog. So just to show that again, there's the left arrow right here, and bam, you go back to the old tab. So let's just spawn a whole bunch of dogs and see how this looks. So as you see, the ball is actually getting really close to the ball, to the dogs now, and is able to play fetch. Alright, so now that we've actually figured out how to do this, perfect. Let's go off to the next step. So in our next step, let's mark this as complete. It's saying nothing's being destroyed off screen. Ooh, I think we're actually going to be dealing with a bit of a script issue at this point. So let's go ahead into that now. So if we go back over to your Unity workspace, go ahead and click on a script. Let's see, detect collisions. This seems to be working fine. Maybe our player controller? That seems to be working fine. Our spawn manager? That seems to be working fine. Oh wait, there's an actual file called destroy out of bounds. Ooh, I was not playing that on purpose. I was completely looking for this file. So, alright, so let's just take a look through what do we need. We need if the transform position is left limit, it's going to destroy it. If it's also, wait a minute, doesn't it say transform position Z? Wait, we're not trying to look for Z. Z means if it's coming near or if it's coming like some, I guess, angle towards something else. Wait a minute, that's absolutely not correct at all. Maybe we do need to fix this. Let's go ahead and open it up in my IDE. I use JetBrains IDE called Rider. It is a paid IDE, but I love Rider. Of course, Visual Studio Code is what we use in Classroom, or you could also use just Visual Studio made by like Microsoft, and that's also a very viable option. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I have something turned on right now. Perfect, I don't. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually correct the script over to transform.position.y. Alright, perfect. So now that we figured out what we put this to transform position.y, and we also see that everything seems to be working fine as is, and I think this x limit and bottom limit is perfect as is as well. And also our 30 and F5 is probably just our actual values. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this and see if it updates within Unity Studio itself now. Alright, perfect. Now it went from Z to Y. Let's go ahead and run this and see if it's going to be able to be destroyed this time around. So let's let it fall. Perfect. That's exactly what we do need. So after it falls through the ground, bam, it's gone. Alright. So now that we know that that's working, we can actually go ahead back over to our Create with Code workspace, and we can check this off. So now it's saying that only one type of ball is being spawned. Wait a minute. I feel like I did actually fix this. That's a bit odd. Let's go back to our spawner manager. Wait, yeah, no, didn't I already fix this? Let's just go ahead and run this again just to make sure. Oh wait, we're only spawning blue balls. That's actually correct. Ooh, is this also another script problem? Let's go back over to our spawner manager and let's see what's happening here. It seems that we're only calling the first instance of ball prefabs. Wait a minute. Didn't I mention what this is? If we take a look over at the spawner manager, we have to realize that everything starts from index of 0 because it's an array, right? Even though we in human count as from 1 to infinity, the actual computer counts from 0 to infinity. Alright, so that's a bit interesting. And we're only calling the element 0 in our spawner manager. Ooh, I'm starting to see where I see this problem from now. Let's go ahead and over to our spawner manager. Okay, so in our spawner manager, of course there's a couple issues that I could do, and I probably should have updated this entire IDE. But if we take a look here, it seems to be working so far. Everything seems to be fine. I'm just double checking all of these, I guess, variables, these float instances. And our start is also exactly what we do need, because we're not trying to update something we're not trying to update something manually. We're trying to update as soon as the game starts, of course with our own delay and our own interval. Alright, perfect. Okay, so our spawn interval is of course 4F, and we also have a random ball that's around here. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this through line by line. So we have a vector position, and we're giving it a random range, so we already know that this works fine. We've already seen this in action. I think what comes to problem is right here in our instantiate when it comes to our ball prefabs. Of course, I already mentioned this, so let's go ahead and randomize what our ball prefabs can do. So I'm going to actually put this below the comment because we want to keep our code organized. And I'm going to say int, or I should put this here, int I. So generally whenever you do coding, you start to learn that people love to give I, Y, J, and LM as actual number values whenever it comes to looping. Of course, we're going to call this our random range, and we already have a ball prefabs, and we can set this to length, because we have to understand that ball prefabs is an array to some point. So whenever we do in C#, whenever we're dealing with the length in C#, we actually want to do length with a capital L. In other instances, you would sometimes do length with a lowercase l, and that's usually whenever you're dealing with strings, but which of course is not the case here. Whenever you do game design, I would say like C# is a lot more similar to our Java course or CSA course, but there is a bit of a difference here and there, but it should be relatively really easy, really quick to understand, especially if you have done our Java course. So I'm going to say game design, game object ball is going to be equal to this instance of I. To be honest, I could probably also just put this in here almost immediately. So let's go ahead, take this I, and put this in our array object. Perfect. So that was a quick and easy way to fix this problem. Let's see if this works now. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Let's go back over to Unity workspace, let the code update. As we see, our update works now. And let's run this through. Alright, we got the green ball. Let's see if we get all three. We got the red ball. Can we get one more blue? Just make sure it works perfectly fine. Ooh, another red. Oh, wow. Our luck today with 3 reds. 4 reds. That seems to be a bit of an issue, maybe. Are we just really lucky today? Ah. It seems so. Okay. So what seems to be happening is that, oh wait, our green ball. Wow, we're just really lucky. Okay, but what I thought was happening was that because we set I as a regular variable, it's actually going to be keep on spawning the instance of I again and again with exemption of the first ball. But that was not the case, because you have to remember that this is actually in a method called start, which invokes or just calls this method called spawn random ball again and again. Alright, so, whew, I almost caught myself in a blunder. Let's go ahead and go back to our create with code task, and we can say that this is finished. Perfect. So, only one type of ball is being spawned? That's a lie. 3 types of balls are being spawned, and I'm just really lucky that only 1 is being spawned. Okay, now that we know that works, now let's go ahead and do our bonus tasks. The spawn interval is always the same. Ooh, they really want to spice this up right now. There's a couple of bonuses here, actually. So, a spawn interval is always the same. We could actually go ahead and finish this, or do this the same way that we actually did our, I guess, our spawner manager, where we created a different time, or a different number variable for each instance of start. Okay, so what we have here is that the spawn interval is already a preset value. But let's just go ahead and give this a range. So I'm actually going to copy this this variable and call this twice here, and we're going to call this min, and we could call this one max. So then I could go ahead and delete this original variable. Let's just see if there's any instances of this being called. And there's only this instance. Perfect. So now that we know that this is safe to be deleted, and we have to change this value, let's just go ahead, set this to some sort of value. So I'm going to say this is maximum of 2, minimum of 2, and a maximum of 6. Alright, perfect. So whenever you're dealing with these float values, there's actually a really fun fact to it. Generally, I believe this would be called every single maybe like 2 seconds, I think that's what it means. Maybe, I'm not too sure. But I forgot how floats work in actual Unity systems. But either way, regardless, I think the invoke repeating probably calls it, like, depending on the float in second itself. So this might be an interval of 2 seconds to 6 seconds, and that's what we're trying to that's what we're trying to do right here. Alright, so now that we figure out that we have a minimum and maximum of 2 to 6 seconds, let's go ahead and run this through. So don't we need, let's just go to comments, don't we need a random ball generated every random seconds? Alright, so how do we do that? In our in our Unit 2 course, we also learned the keyword invoke. So invoke is a really, really weird, it's a really weird method to call, in my opinion, because the way it calls other methods is by using their name as a string. And sure, I can maybe deal with that, But why? There's so many questions as to why. And I guess that's because the reason why that is because this invoke, or not many methods can actually call another method within an argument. So I think this is the reason why it does that. But it's really just a bit odd for why it does it in a string format when there could have been some other workaround. But you know, Unity people, they probably have like really like big brains, and I'm just not gonna question them. So oops, let's not do that. Whatever I just did. I think I actually called my Vim code or Vim Studio. No, I did not. Wow. I just was really unlucky. I guess my luck ran out. So we're gonna be calling our spawn random ball every single second. So we could actually go ahead. No, I think we should change this for start. Okay. So now that we have this invoke, and we're gonna go ahead and set this to any random range of seconds, and we're gonna set these two value as our minimum and our maximum. Perfect. So now that we have this invoke method to be called every so often in our start, which is going to run every single couple of frames with a delay, we could actually take out the spawn interval. Let's see if this is actually going to go ahead and work. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, run this through, and then click run. Compile error. Oof, I'm missing a semicolon. It seems like I'm missing a semicolon right here at the end. So let's go ahead and add that through. There seems to be another. There's no argument that corresponds to the formal parameter of repeat rate. Ooh, we seem to be given another problem. Alright, so we have to figure out where repeat rate is being called. That's really odd. Ooh, it's saying that invoke repeating. I completely forgot about this keyword. I forgot to change this into invoke again. Alright, so now we are dealing with two invokes. Instead of invoke repeating basically calls the object again and again. But for us, we're going to create our own actual method loop using this invoke within the function itself. So once it calls start right here, the rest of the code is always going to stay in the spawn random ball method. So instead of coming back to start with the invoke repeating method, we're actually just going to go back to spawn root ball, and it's going to go back and forth again and again in a whole loop, which is perfect for us because we're calling our invoke method right here. So let's go ahead and run this through. Let's see if this is going to save. Did I fix this? Oh, whoops, I didn't save, did I? There we go. This should now be fixed to invoke. And let's run this. Perfect. So that was 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. Ooh, this is taking a lot more time. So yeah, it was about 6 seconds, I would say. But now that we know this is actually responding at different rates, and this also makes the game actually a lot more harder. I think the final thing that they want us to fix, probably in our bonus too, is fix the dog spawning every second or every single frame that exists. So we're actually going to be doing, I guess we're going to have a lot of fun with this one because there's so many different solutions in how to do this. I think dogs are spawning right on top of each other as well. Alright, so I don't think the dogs despawn either, which is a huge problem. Let's go ahead and fix that as well. I don't even know if that's part of the challenge. But now that we know that the spawn interval is always the same, we could go and fix that. Yeah, it's not even an actual challenge, but I don't want the game to lag, so I'm probably gonna fix that myself. So bonus, the player can spam the spacebar key. Ooh. Of course, I'm really great with predictions because I'm able to, I guess this is the reason why you should be able to fix these bugs, because once you fix one bug, you realize there's another bug that's going on. Of course, I noticed the dogs at the beginning though. So bonus, the player can spam the spacebar key. I'm gonna go and run back here. So our player controller is actually gonna be here. Whenever it's the key down, and it instantiates another dog, but there's a problem. It's in our update. That's a bit odd. So what's the difference between update and start? Whenever we're dealing with update and start, update's more of it runs right when the script is called. You could also set loops to it. However, with update, I would generally, the way I have learned at least, is generally more towards, I guess, manual topics or manual issues. And this one also updates per frame. So that's something to take into account whenever you do start versus update methods. So start is whenever you start the thing and doesn't usually update afterwards. It's a bit of a loop. You can do loops with remote repeatings. Update is every single frame regardless of what you do. Okay, so but now that we know that, whenever you click on input get down, or get key down of space, it instantiates a new thing. Could we detect maybe that the dog is in play? No, that seems really, really complicated. But what we can do is actually create a public, or let's actually create this private variable, um, private dog, or private boolean, bool, dog, and we can set this over to false. Alright, perfect. So now that we set this over to false, we could actually go ahead and see what else we could do with this dog variable. So what I just did, I don't think we learned this in game design, but bool is actually it's a different type of, I guess, variables, strings you could do. So you see how there's void and bool? Void is generally used for functions that don't have a return type. However, for dog, bool return type is a true or false value, or like a 0 or 1 value. Of course, I define this as false. So, of course, the immediate thought is like, wait a minute, what am I going to do with this bool dog? That's a bit easy. So if I could say, if whenever it is false, so whenever there is no dog, and, not prefab, whenever there is no dog, and our key space is down, then we could call this new dog, we could create a new dog. Of course, remember that we had to basically create this, remember we had to basically update, or this update method updates every single frame. So what we can do is click on dog equals true, and then also invoke another method down below. So what I'm going to do down here is create another method called void and reset. I actually don't want to use these generic terms just in case that Unity also has these generic terms, so I'm going to say reset dog. I'm not too familiar with a Unity key space, or just Unity method. So I'm going to say dog equals false. And we're gonna go ahead, click reset, or reset dog, because Unity is really weird. And we're gonna of course want this every single 1 second. So that's our delay. Perfect. Alright, let's go ahead and see this in action and see if we could actually spam it now. Oh, there seems to be another issue with semicolons. That is a very big problem. Alright, so if you could hear my spacebar being pressed, I'm pressing it a lot of times. However, my dog is not being sent as soon as like the spacebar is pressed, which is perfect. That's exactly what we do need. And to be honest, I'm actually just going to go above and beyond and destroy the dog after it reaches a certain point. So what we have over here is it says destroy game object whenever we do pass a X position, and that's our left limit. But that doesn't seem to be working, is it? Or is this left limit? Let's just actually run a dog. Let me see if it actually destroys itself. I haven't tested that out. Is this something I do need to fix? It's going quite far. It's right now. Okay, wait. Let's not go that far. Okay, let's go over here. So the position of it is right now negative 275. 275. And what do we set our destroy method to, or destroy left limit to? 30. Is this something we needed to fix? Because this seems like something we do need to fix. Because right now it's a positive, and technically this is left, and this is right. I don't think Unity actually thought this through, because this is something that we should absolutely fix. Like, I think we can fix this just by setting this to 30. Or negative 30, I mean. And let's run this again. And let's see if this works. Oh, whoops. It seems to be a bit of an issue, as we're destroying our dogs almost immediately. And it seems to not be spawning any game object either. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and set this. I'm gonna move this farmer. Ooh, the farmer does not want to move. Okay. So the player should go all the way until -40. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this through again. Let's see what else we can fix. So our left limit, if to transform position X, destroy the dog's position if X is less than a position. So I'm gonna go to -40. Okay, that's a bit more leeway, but not what we do need. Is our transform position coming because of the fact that we do? Is this because, let me set this again. What's the difference between these two values? Oh, wait. Okay. My brain was not thinking. However, all this needed was just actually just like sending this over to -30, which was basically the end of the platform, and we just set this over to less than instead of greater than. I don't know why this was actually not a step that we had to do. I'm just gonna go and double check in case this was, but I don't think this really was. Nothing's being destroyed off screen. Ball should be. Oh, this was a step that I did miss. Okay. I'm glad that I did fix that just in case. Whew, that would have been scary. But we finally have finished this entire challenge. Perfect. And that only took us 30 minutes. All right. Have a good day.